Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday webinar and your midweek bit of inspiration. Today, we have an amazing speaker, Christine Steele. But before we speak to Christine, we're going to listen to her audio. So here we go. Let's listen to Christine's audio. And then afterwards, we're going to be able to ask her questions. So here we go. Let's, oh dear, do you know what? I wish I'd cancel. Oh, okay. Let me just, video, that's it. Here we are, Christine Steele coming up.
How I found my place and voice. From as early as I can remember, 4 years of age, I had a passion for learning. Unfortunately, in the era I grew up, and as a girl, my education was not classed as important, especially by my parents and older brothers. I was desperate to be educated, but always went unheard. In fact, I never even had a voice. I was classed as the baby of the family, and nothing I could say would ever have been worth listening to. This left me carrying embarrassment inside for over 50 years, until I decided to go to a public speaking class to learn how to public speak. I stayed for over 3 years and loved every minute. I did have a voice. I am no longer embarrassed by my upbringing, because I have learnt who I truly am. I am a person who has lots of messages that can be shared to support and help others. My passion has always been education, and my life has simply been one learning experience after another. I admire the students of today. They have so much weight to carry, expectations from family, society, and their own self-imposed expectations too. Life is a learning curve, and every experience is a lesson. A lesson is never wasted as long as you can learn from it. The 2 words that had the biggest impact in my life were take ownership. We have to set our own goals. We have to plan how we can achieve them. And first and foremost, we have to rely on ourselves. Find a way, you just need to find it. Don't feel unique. We have something different to offer, and others can learn from us. Know your own values and be true to them. This will help you to grow as the person you want to be. Have boundaries to protect yourself and look after your well-being, such as saying no when you need to protect your valuable time. Learn to focus on those things that you can control. Do not waste your time and energy on what you cannot control. Take steps to know who you truly are and follow the right path for you. I am Christine Steele, and this is my voice.
Wow, that was an amazing and powerful audio. And we have here Christine Steele, who made that audio. Christine, thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Christine, I just want to touch base with some of the things that you spoke about in your audio. When you started that first step of going to a public speaking class, what was it that gave you the confidence to go to that first class, to take that first step, to believe that you had a voice and that it was worth someone listening to it?
I've learned since that what happens is when there's a message inside you that becomes larger than your fear, you start to take steps. I think subconsciously you start to look at different opportunities that could open up to you. And I started to look at different public speaking classes within the area and thought,
this could be something I could just go to one class. I'll just go to one class. And that one class absolutely blew me away. I sat 4 rows back. There was no one in the first 3 rows. And the chap running it said, "Would you like to sit at the front?" And I said, "No, thank you. I'm fine here." And so I wasn't prepared to speak to anybody or do anything. I'd just gone as a spectator. That's all I'd gone for, because I was terrified of speaking to anyone. And he asked everyone to sit next to someone and just spend 2 minutes sharing their story and why they were there that evening. And there was a young boy around 22 years of age, and he said, "I'm here because I'm on a radio show in the morning." And I said, "Oh, what is that about?" And he knocked me over. He'd been looking after his brother who'd been brain damaged for 10 years. And he'd been asked to share what a difference he'd had in the life of his brother when the hospital didn't have much hope for his brother. And he'd spent 10 years by the side of his brother, and his brother was much, much better than they'd ever expected. And that just blew me away. And I thought, I need to be here.
I think it's really interesting, Christine, because quite sometimes I have students and I say, "Oh, would you like to be a guest on Wednesday webinars?" And they went, "Oh, no, I'm still a student." You know, it's this idea that I haven't done something yet. I haven't qualified. I haven't finished my exams. And really, every single day is really important. Not about having accomplished everything. You've got something to say this minute, this second, this day.
The journey. It's the journey and where you started and how you're handling that journey. So the students can say what made them get started, what passion they've got, what the dreams are. And when they share that with other people, because it is all about sharing stories. And by sharing stories, it helps you and others all connect together.
Yeah, quite agree with that. I mean, it's this idea that people think you've got to be somebody famous to have something to say. And we are all individuals who have something to say. So I remember for me, it started when I did A-level English, and we would be asked, "Well, what do you think about that sentence or that paragraph in the novel that we had to read?" And then I realized that my view was just as good as anybody else's view in the group, and that sort of snowballed. And we all have these different triggers that suddenly tell us, you know, it's okay to speak. So if you're a student now who is a bit nervous about speaking in your workshop or your tutorial group or speaking to a lecturer or in lectures, what would you say to them to try and encourage them to start using their voice?
I would say, firstly, I fully understand where they're coming from, because even now when I speak in I went to an event and I asked a question at the end, and I felt that my voice was quivering, and I thought other people could hear it. And apparently when I asked someone afterwards, they said, "No, we didn't see that. We didn't get that, didn't come across to us." So very often we feel that nervousness, that quivering in the voice, but other people don't see that. I would seriously say, give yourself permission to be heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that, really, isn't it, Christine? In the sense that if you don't give yourself permission, there's no one else out there that can give you permission to speak and to say what you need to say.
No one else will.
Also, yeah, absolutely. And what I loved about your audio is the words that you use, take ownership. That really sort of resonated with me. Quite often people can feel, especially students, that everything's organized for them and that everyone else has a right to speak except them. But I used to say to my students, well, look, you've paid the same price as everybody else. You're entitled to the same tuition as everybody else. Oh, and if you have a question, you're entitled to ask a question just like everybody else. What do you think, Christine, is the one thing that spurred you on once you found that little step and went to your public speaking course? What was it? You know, other people around you inspired you, but what was it within you that pushed you to get better and better at doing it?
I learned that everybody has a message, and the one thing that kept repeating in my head on the journey home, the one thing from that evening is, when you're sharing a message, it is not about you. It's about the person that's hearing your message, and it's what they get from your message. It's not about you. You're not important. It's the message that you're giving and how it lands with other people and what they can benefit from that message. So when you're not focused on yourself, if you don't focus on yourself and you focus on what you can give to others, it shifts the paradigm.
So like quite often, like students are in a group, they don't understand something, the tutor doesn't realize they don't understand something, and it takes somebody with like courage to sort of speak up and say, I don't understand that, and then all the others like, no, we don't understand it either. But it takes that one person with courage to vocalize their difficulty so that everyone in the group can benefit from the fact that they require more clarification or a different explanation to understand something that's very complicated.
Exactly. You've said it there. It's courage. It's courage.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I think that comes across on your audio is that a lot of people think about their past and things in their past that have stopped them from speaking. But what really inspired me when I listened to your audio is that it didn't matter what happened in your past, you decided you needed to speak.
Yes, it was once you've got, you realize you can help and share others, your message is bigger than you. Your past shrinks because it's not important. It's what's important for other people.
Yeah. And I think it's this idea that, you know, people can get very hung up on, well, I didn't come from a family that did a lot of public speaking. I didn't come from a family from where my views were valued, and therefore I don't have anything to say that can be valued. And I love this idea that your past shrinks. And then what's important is the present here, now, what's going on and what you need to say.
I lived for 50 years in the shadows because I was frightened of anybody knowing my past, because I wasn't classed as important as a child, or not important. So it was the biggest thing in my planet. And then when I started sharing and helping others, it didn't matter. Nobody batted an eyelid. It wasn't important. It was what they felt and what their emotions were at that time.
Yeah.
And you become to be accepted.
So you're accepted for who you are now, and constraints or problems in your past that maybe made it less likely that you would speak or undermined you wanting to speak are really not factors that you should focus on in the present. I think that's a really powerful, lovely message for students to hear. Your past just shrinks away into the background, and who you are now, with all the experiences that you've had, is the person who has something to say.
I've become that person on that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And the person that started out at year year 5, year 10. It doesn't matter. You've evolved and you are who you are now, and that's the important thing. So Christine, one of the things that I really liked about what you said is that every experience is a lesson. Perhaps you could speak to us a little bit about that. That would be really good.
Life and your lessons. And if you can take a lesson, experience, there's always a lesson in every experience. And if you don't look for that lesson, you'll get that experience again. You will keep getting the same experience until the penny drops and you think, actually, there's a lesson there. And that's where your growth comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And then you grow and you go on to your next experience. And every experience is like stepping stones.
Mm-hmm.
And you grow at each stage of the journey.
And I think what's important is for students to understand that, you know, every experience counts as an opportunity to learn. And all the difficulties and the complications that students have had this year, there have been so many learning opportunities they're getting from that experience that will perpetuate and propel them into the future. And, you know, for next year and the year after, the resilience that they've learned this year and last year is going to be an important lesson for the future when they go into a job which is stressful, demanding, unpredictable. All of the experience that they've had in the past 2 years is going to be such a valuable learning experience for them.
Absolutely. Every experience, you know, as hard as it is good for you. Because you come out stronger with more experience, more knowledge, more wisdom. And you think, well, life's like the ocean. The waves just keep coming. So you learn every time you get knocked, you stand back up, you dust yourself down, and you think, I'll remember that for next time. And you just keep growing. You just accept that there's going to be something else around the next corner. But you've grown stronger, so you learn from that. And it's just, I'm prepared for anything that comes at me now. But it's took time. So if the young can learn that this is what's going to happen, the students that have gone through the last couple of years, they will be asked by the next generation, how did you cope? Tell us, because we want to follow your path.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not just the students who are on university courses, it's the students who have done A-levels, GCSEs and had all of their academic studies interrupted. And indeed, students below that who just haven't been able to go to school and have the resources that they've needed. And I think we all are going to come out of this situation wiser and stronger people for the experience that we've been through. And I know that as students go towards preparing for their exams, they may not feel that at the moment, but I really do believe that, you know, when you've got a job that's demanding, unpredictable, people that are unpredictable, everything you've learnt in this pandemic is going to be such a valuable resource. And just the idea of knowing that you coped with things, that you survived things, that is such a positive support to go forward.
The thing as well is we all get overwhelmed very quickly now. And the secret is writing everything down, your feelings, your emotions and your thoughts, and processing them. And looking at how you can break everything down into bite-sized chunks. Because I used to say to my daughter, you cannot eat the elephant in one bite. You have got to break it down. And it makes each task more interesting. You learn it. If there is a task that's boring, you get over it much quicker because it's in a smaller bite-sized chunk. And it perpetuates you forward. Break everything down into small, manageable, bite-sized chunks. It's less stressful. There's less anxiety. And when you feel in control and you can tick one one bite-sized chunk off at a time, that actually starts to build your confidence and your self-esteem.
Yeah.
So it's the bite-sized chunks of all the work that stops the feeling of overwhelm, because we can all be hit with the feeling of overwhelmed at any time. And when they're in bite-sized chunks, you then can start to prioritize much easier than what you can. It's just in a great big, too overpowering situation.
Yeah. And Christine, you've got this fantastic website. Could you just tell us a little bit about the website that you've got, which is really aimed at helping people process their thoughts and feelings and doing it in a very safe and secure way?
Yes, I launched it 2 days before the first lockdown. It was purely for students, but I found everybody on the planet is using it, which is lovely, lovely. And it's you put in www.mymindhealth.com, and you will see a square box. And that square box is a safe space. It's been coded so that no information is recorded. So you can process your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and then what you have to do is you have to press delete. Now, you could go on there and write in those same problems day after day for the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I assure you, by the end of 2 weeks, you'll be bored to death of your problems. And you'll want to find some more problems. Yeah. So
I think as well, it's a good way of, you just writing out what you think, what you feel, processing it. Sometimes just seeing things in writing. If you've had a bad day or you struggled or you've been challenged in some way, just writing that out and then wiping that delete button. Still with us. I think we've got internet problems. It might be the bad weather we're having. So yeah, could you just tell us again what the website's called?
My Mind Health. And so My Mind Health. So it's www.mymindhealth.com. And I would like to think, as people open up to themselves and release their emotions and feelings without anyone else knowing how they feel, once they've opened up to themselves, once things have come onto their radar, they'll notice other people speaking about things as well. So once a person's been able to open up to themselves, I'm hoping that will make it easier for students to open up and talk to others as well. So it's a way of, in the long term, helping people to open up and talk to others as well. So it's a very, very powerful tool.
And we believe that talking, using your voice effectively, using it to reflect who you are is a really important part of your experience in life. And wherever you are in life at this stage, whether you're studying at undergraduate level, you're a postgraduate, or you've just started work in the legal sector or some other sector, it's really important that you're able to speak, that you're able to communicate with people and pass on some of the experiences and lessons that you've learned. So have a go at My Mind Health Matter. Would love to hear how you find it. And if you'd like to be a guest on Wednesday webinar, send me a direct message on LinkedIn. Christine, I'm going to thank you for a really interesting session. You can watch the replay on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. But Christine, it's been lovely having you. Take care.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye.